Hi everyone. I'm in the small temple tonight, and I know it may not be strictly the moment for a midnight rite, but since I'm here, due actually to some distressing news I've heard, but I won't make this about that. I thought that I would go ahead and do our Goodnight Goddess song from the small temple this time. We're getting to see everything today. The little temple for the noon rite, the big temple for our temple of swirling light moment earlier, and now a little moment of Goodnight Goddess. So here we are in the small temple, illuminated just by candlelight with our statue of the goddess Isis. And this particular goddess Isis is one of the directional goddesses, guardians of the inner golden shrine of Tutankhamun. And so she is at a slight angle. She stands at the corners. And when I was fortunate enough to be in Egypt earlier this year, I got to see the original. And she stands there with Selkut and Neith and Nephthys at the four corners of the golden shrine of Tut. So here we have our candles in their carved holders that we put in to make them a little bit more stable, because we are, as you know, concerned about fires. And this makes them a little bit more stable, because in addition to being in a fire-prone area, we are also in a earthquake-prone area with many microquakes and occasionally quakes up to 3.0 or 4.0 due to the volcanic nature of this land, and also due to them pumping in wastewater from Santa Rosa into the geothermal fields up at Geyser Peak. Lorianne was very concerned about this, and she hoped that one day we would be able to restore the geysers up at Geyser Peak and move beyond the geothermal energy plants. And since they are no longer naturally producing geothermal energy, who knows, maybe that one day will happen. But now Geyser Peak is bristling with all these cell phone towers, and we're very dependent on the development at Geyser Peak. So I don't know if that will actually happen or not. So we will have to see, won't we? But in the original days, the early days, Geyserville was actually named because of its proximity to the geysers. It was a huge tourist attraction, with people coming from San Francisco by ferry boat, boarding a train, then transferring to a stagecoach and a special wagon that would take them all the way up Geyser Peak by really challenging roads. And the roads are still really challenging, so I can only imagine what they were a century ago. But a century ago, there was a very popular hotel up there, and so you could go and visit Geyser Peak and go to all of the quote-unquote geysers, which were really fumaroles, not geysers, and each one of them had a different chemical composition, and each one of them had a different name. And there were, I think, at least 13 named fumaroles up there, along with a special green plant that only grows there on the face of the earth, and many other very, very special things about that place. So I took a special tour once a year. PG&E provides a tour of the area, and I went up there with our priestess emeritus, Arissa Victor, and we had a beautiful day up on the mountain looking at what small remains there are of the fumaroles. There were probably 4 or 5 that weren't worth capping at the time, and so they have been allowed to stay in a more or less natural state. But most of them were capped off. All the really powerful ones were. And it was the first major geothermal plant in the United States. It started in the late 1940s and then really got going in the 50s and 60s. And so it's an unusual area up there, and it is a very challenging road to reach it all the way from here. So a little bit of our geothermal history. But in any case, because of the old volcanic activity and the new pumping of the wastewater into the geothermal field, we have lots and lots of mini quakes. I just get used to them, and every once in a while I go to the very good USGS website and fix the settings so I pick up all the quakes, and I'll look and see, it'll be the geysers, the geysers, the geysers, the Philippines, the geysers, the geysers, the geysers, oh, in Nevada, the geysers, the geysers, the geysers, and it's really amazing how many small quakes that we do have. So that's a very long-winded explanation of why we have our candles in very firm bases that hopefully provide us with just a little bit extra protection against them tipping over during earthquakes. So, alrighty. I'm not going to do the full dream incubation tonight, but I do, of course, wish you very good dreams. And we'll just go ahead and do the Good Night Goddess song. And this song came to me in this very small temple long before I actually was here dealing with the everyday life of this place. It was when I was visiting for, I think, one of the major events, I think Convocation, but I'm not sure. It could have been something else. And so this is what came to me as just a way of saying good night to the goddess. Not really a rite, not really a midnight rite, just good night. Good night, goddess of the night. Good night, goddess of starlight. Good night, goddess, hold me tight. Good night, goddess of the night. Good night, Isis, hold me tight. Good night, Isis of starlight. Good night. I hope you have sweet dreams, that all your fears are soothed, that all your challenges are healed, and that you wake in the morning ready for anything. Goddess bless you, and we'll see you again soon.